I remember like when I first started AI, I would tell it, you sound cringy. There's some really strong opinions about AI. I can hyper focus. I can build my brand. AI is an absolute game changer for brands. And if you're not utilizing it, you need to be. We've talked about know, like, trust, right? But it goes so much further than that now. It's to be seen, heard, and known.
Hi, and welcome to the 91-Day AI Transformation Podcast. I'm your host, Jonathan Mast, and I am really excited to have Celeste with me today. Celeste and I had the opportunity to meet not too long ago, and boy, I was just totally amazed as I chatted with her about some of the things that she's doing to help her clients and how she's implementing AI in her business and helping her clients do the same thing. So Celeste, thanks for joining us today. I'm really excited to have you here. For those that may not be familiar with you, could you give us kind of the elevator pitch on who is Celeste and tell us a little bit about your business? Because you've got a really unique business as well.
I do. Thank you. I'm so glad to be here, Jonathan. Thank you for asking me on here. So my name is Celeste Sowder. Just a high overview. I'm in the middle of a cotton patch right now in West Texas. And that kind of leads me into why I'm passionate about what I do. But I'm the founder of the Soul Sister Project. And with the Soul Sister Project, it's evolved into an educational program platform for women who mainly have an adversity to advocacy story. And I'm teaching them how to utilize AI in their branding to really amplify their voice. And so it's been an amazing journey for me. I say the cotton patch is because social media is a really huge passion of mine, because it gave me a window to the outside world when I felt like I was drowning as a young mom. And so there's other people in the world that utilize social media for that. And I see it as a mission field. And so I prepare women to go out with their voice and to be heard and have a really clear message. And I utilize AI to do that.
Boy, I absolutely love that. And I want to jump right in by dealing with one of the probably things I know I hear a lot, I'm sure you do as well, which is using AI sounds great, but how am I going to make it be my voice, my brand? You know, you talk about helping them through that personal branding journey and the things like that. How in the world, and I've got my opinions, but I'll leave those till later because this is your story. How in the world do we get AI to sound like a woman that's doing this as opposed to sounding like ChatGPT?
Yeah, that was the biggest hurdle, I think, right? I think for most of us, what I would call us pioneers in the AI, especially in the entrepreneurial part of it, right? Is that the personal branding, the voice, the sounding like an actual person with personality and not this. And I remember like when I first started AI, I would tell it, you sound cringy, please stop. But I didn't know exactly how to train it or tell it to sound like me. And so it's taken me a little while. That's why my program's called the Soul Sister Accelerator, is because all the things I did, they get to like bypass that and just jump into actually sounding like it. But the way I do it, and I know, Jonathan, you have a certain way to do it. And I'm excited to I want to try that brand scribe that you have. But the way I do it, that we accelerate past that point, is that we just do an interview. I give them interview questions. They go and interview themselves. I don't look at the interview, but they feed it through the prompts that I give them to build their personal brand, their branding. And it takes, there's this really cool thing that AI just picks up on nuances, right? The nuances of our voice and how we answer. And so I teach them how to utilize voice to text. So they have like the Chrome extension, voice to text, and then we just feed it through different prompts, and AI just picks up on the brand voice and it sounds like us. There's also ways that we can take, our transcripts. So I go live every day. I take my transcripts and ChatGPT knows my voice and it just spits it out in my voice. And so there's ways, but that would be it, is something like just doing an interview, and it can be a really quick interview. And then you feed it through and ChatGPT can actually pick up on the nuances.
I love that. And that's very similar to what my Brand Scribe product does and everything else. It's really just, to me, you mentioned the interview, and it's one of those things I think as I speak that people are always, they kind of go, what? When you say that, and go, yeah, literally you can have AI interview you. and it does a really good job. I think one of my favorite things to teach people is that, when you want to accomplish something with AI, all you really need to do is say, here's my end goal. This is what I want to happen. Would you please interview me and ask me all the questions that you need in order to help me accomplish this goal? And now, short of obviously cooking breakfast, which it's not going to do for us, or cleaning the dishes, but if it's
Darn.
something that AI can do, especially as we're talking content creation and branding and those types of things, really a sweet spot for AI, just asking it to interview, whether you're talking ChatGPT or Claude or any of those models. Notice I'm not mentioning Gemini. It's not my favorite, so I don't know where you stand on that, but I'm not a big fan of Gemini. It works,
Me
just
neither.
doesn't work well. And so just asking it to interview, though, has so much power, and it works so incredibly well. Now, you mentioned something that I'd love to learn because I'm not even familiar with. I use voice to text all the time on my phone with AI.
Oh,
You just
okay.
mentioned something about a Chrome browser extension. Can you tell us about that? Because I'm
Yes.
going to go and download it right now
You
because
need it.
I
Everyone
absolutely
needs
love
it.
that. Tell us
Yes,
about that.
everyone needs it. It's called Text and Speech Chrome extension. It is free. They do have, an upgrade, but I've never needed it. It does work in ChatGPT. So I'm mainly ChatGPT. I do use Claude for like prompt engineering, and then I also use Perplexity. Well, I was, and then it came off, like it's off of Poe now. I have Poe,
Okay.
and so I haven't gone and got Perplexity like on their platform yet. But anyways, I digress. Voice and text, or voice and or speech to text. I don't know. I think it's voice in text Chrome extension. It does work in ChatGPT, but you have to have it in a Chrome browser. You can't, like, you can't pull up the ChatGPT app on your computer. So,
Yep,
yeah,
absolutely.
but no, it's the best thing ever.
That sounds so really cool. I love that. I'm going to definitely have to look at that again. I use it on my phone all the time, but I've not ever used it on my computer because I never took the time to think about it. But one of the things I love about speaking to AI is that we tend to be able to give it more information. And as you pointed out, is able to pick up on the nuances of what we say to even better match our tone, our style, our brand, all those things that are so incredibly important. Talk to me a little bit about how do you address, I'm assuming a lot of the women that you're working with when they're getting started, they may have used ChatGPT to, take a picture of the refrigerator and tell them what to make for dinner, but they're probably not using it on a day-to-day basis. And I know you really are. You're digging into it. You showed me some of the amazing processes and prompts that you actually walk people through, which are really well thought out. How do you get people to transition from, boy, I've heard a lot about AI, but I don't know what to do, to, okay, I am going to embrace this? What does your process look like, and how do you get them past that initial skepticism of all the naysayers that are out there?
Oh, wow. The naysayers. I'd let yeah.
Yes.
Um, yeah, so I work with a lot of impact-driven, faith-driven women, and there's some really strong opinions about AI out there in those camps. And how can you have a authentic brand but yet utilize AI? Yeah, there's some hurdles you absolutely have to get over to be able to do that. So honestly, a lot of the women that come into my program don't have any experience with ChatGPT. A lot of them
Interesting.
have had, yeah, so a lot of them have had the desire to start a podcast, the desire to, start YouTube, that a desire to start utilizing their voice and their story and things like that, but they didn't know exactly how to do it. And AI was not on their radar to begin with. And so it's just kind of, they just come into my space and I'm like, let me just show you. And so I will show them. And the hurdle from going from not utilizing AI into utilizing what I call mega prompts, because that's what a
Hmm.
lot of my program is I have them do that interview, and I'm like, do the interview and then start prompting it, and you will have this whole brand in an hour. I've built a whole brand out in an hour um, before, and they come in without the hurdles having to get over, or there's the ones that feel like technology is so hard, right? The ones that are, 55 plus. Technology it's going at such a rapid pace for the ones that grew up in the 70s that didn't
Hmm.
they
Yes.
didn't,
Yes.
they didn't have that kind of stuff. They had typewriters and stuff, and now we're here in social media, and we're AI, and it's just moving so quickly. They come in with that block. And I'm like, you don't have to learn AI. I've learned AI for you. All you have to do is be coachable. Just
Mm,
trust me, put in the thing, and they are amazed at when they let that block, like they just push past the block. The fear is really what it's push past the fear, start doing it. They're amazed at how easy it can be, but it's not them having to learn it. And so I think that makes a huge difference, right? Is especially for like us where we're in the middle of it, the technology is coming at us day in, day out, all this information, right? Because we're immersed in it. Um, there's a difference between being immersed in it, learning it, and applying it into an entrepreneurial thing and teaching others about it than to being the one being taught and just like just utilizing our
absolutely.
knowledge.
That's great. No, and I love that. And I love how you work with them and demonstrate to them how you walk through that process. I do find that most people that have, either watched too much news or listened to too many naysayers, as soon as they actually start using the tools themselves, they start going, well, hang on. This is really cool. This is really powerful. And it's not something to be scared of and to be freaked out about and all that. One of the other questions I know that I can just hear our listeners asking right now is, okay, so we're trying to build a brand out, whether that be a business brand or personal brand or whatever. And Jonathan, you and Celeste are both advocating we use AI to do this. How is that going to be an authentic brand? How is it going to represent us? And again, I've got some thoughts on that, but ladies first, I'd like you to tell me from your perspective, um, how do you address the people that go, that's great, but AI is never going to represent me effectively? Isn't that kind of like cheating or being fraudulent because I'm using AI to do it, not me?
It's so biased. It's so
Yes, it
biased.
is. Yes, it
Um,
is.
definitely building a brand with AI, whether it's an established brand or a brand new brand or a personal brand that you're like leaning into these passions of yours, or you've become passionate about something because of life. AI is absolutely necessary nowadays, honestly, I believe, for any brand. And the reason being, and I'm just going to go from my own personal, like it's just from me, right?
Sure,
So
sure.
I'm a late diagnosed neurodivergent, just like you, Jonathan. I was 41 when I was
ADD
diagnosed with,
proud, absolutely.
yes, with ADHD, but it is the inattentive, so I'm ADD. I probably you could even look at I'm high functioning, some ADHD, some going, but the hyper focus is really where it is for me. I really like to hyper focus. It's it's a strength now that I understand it, but
Yep.
it wasn't before. AI for me is where I have all of my branding intricately woven in these AI systems that I have set up, and I'm teaching women to do it. And the thing is it doesn't take up the brain power, which I have. I'm getting real. I have
This
executive
is good. I
function
like it.
disorder, right? I didn't know this until I recognized it probably just about 3 or 4 months ago. And I was like, well, that makes sense why I like AI so much, is because I can hyper focus, I can build my brand, I can get all the information that I need and like do our little bots and all this stuff. And it's stored in there. And I don't have
Yep.
to have that brain power having to, like go through the files of my memory every time I want to talk to my follower,
Yes,
or every time
absolutely.
right, every time I'm ready to start a new project or put out a new lead magnet or talk about a new thing or develop a new thing, like any of it, or even talk about an old thing. I don't have to go back through the files. All I have to do is reference my AI. That has made a huge difference for me. Why would anybody not utilize that, especially if you're trying to scale your business? Now, all your business information is stored in the cloud, basically, where they can actually, if you were to absolutely utilize it, build GPTs or AI bots or whatever with this information, it's something that somebody else, when you bring somebody onto your team, can reference. It's not something that you
Hmm.
have to go and teach. It is already in there, or they can reference the stuff that you've already put in AI. AI is an absolute game changer for brands. And if you're not utilizing it, you need to be. Absolutely.
Well, no, and I can't agree with you more. Obviously, I'm a huge fan of it as well. And like you, I was diagnosed with ADD at 43 years old. My wife said it explained a lot. I'm like, oh, okay, whatever. And I'd never really thought about it. But one of the reasons I love AI is because of the fact that it does allow me to hyper focus. And as somebody who's neurodivergent, we can hyper focus, and I can do 2 to 3 times the normal amount of work, but I can only probably do that for 30 minutes, maybe even
Yep.
20 minutes. But it allows me to do that and get so much done so fast because a premise of mine for years has been speed implementation. And I believe in the concept that success follows speed implementation. I used to have a quote on my door that was good today is better than better tomorrow. And the reason was that better tomorrow never actually happened. And if we wait for the better tomorrow, whether it's building our personal brand or trying out a new idea or whatever the case is, in most cases, tomorrow never comes. And
Mhm.
AI lets me try that out. Now, does that mean we crash and burn sometimes? Oh, yeah, sometimes massively. But it's
Yes.
okay because we were able to crash and burn quickly. And
Yes.
now I can move on and I can do something else. The other thing that I love about it, I love your take on this. I've believed that AI really amplifies skill and experience. And it's one of the reasons that I keep telling my clients, many of whom are over 40, that it's really to our benefit not to be 22 getting into AI. Not that there's anything wrong with the 22-year-olds getting into it,
No.
but at 40 plus, or in my case, 50 plus, we actually have the capability and the experience to give AI things to amplify. And I believe that, to me, is kind of was one of those watershed moments when I realized that AI allowed me to amplify my skill and experience, and that allowed me to really catapult myself ahead. What are your thoughts on that? Am I crazy? Does that make sense? Does that resonate? What are your
It makes
thoughts?
so much sense. It makes so much sense, and I hadn't put it that way, but, that's my whole goal is to amplify authenticity. And at 22, I didn't know who I was. I mean, I
Yes.
was 41 when I was diagnosed, and I was like, "Oh, that makes a lot of sense," and I'm actually feeling like within the last 10 months, I'm being introduced to myself.
Yes,
And I really
absolutely.
feel that, yeah, once you have like, oh, that makes sense. And then there's like some accommodations that you do for yourself. And there's so much love and self compassion that happens after this kind of stuff. But as far as a 22-year-old, I wouldn't know where to start. It would have been so absolute, like a whole new world, yes, but too big of a world to be able to hyper focus on one thing. And with our experiences at 40 plus, for me, it was social media. I had a real love for it. I knew that I had a love for it. I didn't understand it at first until this year when like that connection was made. I was like, I always said that the first 3 years of living on the farm. So I'm city girl. My husband's a farmer. He's fourth generation. I moved out here. We live in the same house we did, when we got married in 2005. I would always say like the first 3 years were really hard. The fourth year it got better. Well, that was when Facebook was invented. And so I
Hmm.
recognized why I kept going back to social media, but also seeing it as a mission field. And I wouldn't have known that at 22, Jonathan. Like I wouldn't
Oh,
have
yeah.
understood that. And you can amplify that by build with AI too, because that was the question you asked before was like, how do you, take and build a brand and make it authentic? And then like we're talking about amplifying and all this stuff. And it comes from not being scared of the technology. And it
Hmm.
comes from really leaning in, hyper focusing. And then it also comes from, yeah, having that experience, I know I don't know a lot about you. I know that you said that you've been in marketing for a long time. I'm a stay-at-home mom for a long time. I homeschooled my children. I've been in network marketing for about a dozen years now. From the time I was about 28, I'm not in it anymore, but it allowed me to learn my niche,
Hmm.
my passion, right? And from your experience, my experience, I just believe that experiential expertise is so much more needed in today's market than just coming straight out of college because marketing, social media, the AI, the personal branding, like this authenticity movement, all this stuff, this is not taught. This
Right.
is actually learned from experience, and AI is the same way too because it's so new.
You mentioned a lot of things there. The one thing that makes I want to go back and touch on is actually touching on the concept of branding personal branding in particular. You mentioned how things have evolved and changed a little bit. And I think one of the things that we've seen change so much and are seeing change right now is people want to make more personalized connections. So as an example, my company is Whitebeard Strategies, but most of my branding is done as Jonathan Mast. Not because I don't want to promote Whitebeard Strategies, but it means nothing to anybody but maybe me. And nobody cares about my logo and nobody cares about that. I'm not Nike, I'm not Disney, and I'm never going to be. I have broad dreams for success, don't get me wrong, but I'm never going to be Disney and I don't want to be Disney. So if I don't want to be like Disney, then shouldn't I try to be the guy that's branding myself so that people want to do business with me? I think, and look like Gary Vaynerchuk. Gary has multiple companies that he runs, but everybody knows him as Gary V.
Right.
And that's the brand that he's done so well with. And there are so many more like that. There's Alex Hormozy and Mr. Beast, and we could go on and on and on and on, that their personal brand has become far more valuable than their business, even though they do business. And I think that we're entering a time where, again, people want to make those personal connections. Nobody's buying my training, my consulting, my courses because they're offered by Whitebeard Strategies. They're buying those because of the fact, and they're paying me because of who I am and the know, like, and trust they have with me. Are you seeing similar things that are happening? And yeah, I guess I'm giving a monologue here. I shouldn't be doing that, but tell me what your thoughts are on that as a concept. And do you agree that we're headed into a time, just societally, where those personal brands are, in my opinion, going to be more important than they've ever been?
Absolutely. So we've talked about know, like, trust, right? But it goes so much further than that now. It's to be seen, heard, and known.
Yeah.
The consumer wants to know that they are seen, heard, and known, not just that they
Yes.
know, like, trust you. That's the surface now, but they want to know that they absolutely, you understand where they're at. You wouldn't have the strategy or the know-how if you didn't. Honestly, that we were just talking about that with the experiential stuff. They want to know that you've been there, that they can come to you if they have a question or if they're feeling overwhelmed or whatever. Known, seen, heard, known, seen, like all of it. And yeah, we're coming to, it's a time in history where we are so closely connected that those brands, that it doesn't matter anymore. There needs to be a face to it. There has to be some compassion, and it was social media and a hunch to reach out to you. And that's what they want. It's that
Right.
they can actually have connection. And even, with somebody that has a huge following or whatever, they want to know that they are being seen, known, and heard. I don't know about you, but if I don't feel like a connection with anyone, it doesn't matter if it's Alex Hormozy or not, right? I probably won't be doing business with them.
Right.
Just because that's just how it is anymore. It's not because he's built a name. I'm not going to follow the name or even that anymore. For me as a consumer, there has to be a connection, and that's how everybody's feeling. I don't know if 2020 did it for us, but
no, I agree. I think we're really craving those personal connections. Like you said, we want to figure out how we connect, and know that we're dealing with someone that is, like us. I love that phrase that you used, how to be seen, heard, and known. I think that's just so powerful and so good. Talk to us a little bit about, as you work with your clients and the women that you help, how do you help them be seen, heard, and known? And I know you leverage AI to do it, but let's take a step back from AI for just a moment, and feel free to bring it back up. But how do you help them be seen, seen, heard, and known?
it's through my own personal brand. It's not through the Soul Sister Project or the Soul Sister Accelerator or anything like that. It's through my personal brand. And the reason why I'm doing what I'm doing, and I do have the programs and the AI, and I did bring it back up, but I'll get back
That's
off
okay.
that.
That's all right.
But it was the reason that all of that came about is because of my calling as a human. It's not to build AI programs. It's not anything like that. Is to connect with others. And I'd had a very strong pull to just start going live and to share, faith, share like my faith journey, honestly. So I'm gonna get real with you, Jonathan. Like
Please do.
we talk about AI in business, but in this is what I build my business on, is authenticity and being vulnerable and transparent. And I had a serious mental breakdown last year, and I didn't even know I was walking through it. I didn't
Mm.
know that was what was happening. And when I recognized what was happening, and I got that diagnosis, and then a blood test showed that my pituitary gland was completely null and void
Oh,
because
wow.
of because of a hormone I'd been taking after weight loss surgery, and I didn't need it any longer. So I had been taking my thyroid hormone, and it was giving me so much thyroid that my pituitary gland stopped
Mm.
pushing out TSH. And so all these things started happening because I have ADHD, and I had undiagnosed ADHD. So I had like the amygdala part of my, all of the things were happening. Well, when I came out of that, I had already felt the call to social media, obviously, for years. I'd been utilizing lives, and every time I felt the pull to get back on social media or grow business, I was always doing it behind a product. After that happening, I knew that I had to start stepping up and sharing about my mental health, sharing about mental illness, because I grew up in a house of that too. And I had to start sharing, finding joy in the journey. That right there is how I guess I am the first funnel, right? They get on, they like my live, and then they're like, man, I wish I could do what she's doing. And I'm like, you can, I can help you. I've got this
Yes.
program.
Yes.
And so, it goes back to the question before about, the face of it, but the known, seen, heard is
Hmm.
because I really truly know, I see them, I hear them, and I nurture those relationships outside of business.
I love that. I love that. You talk a little bit about, well, not a little bit. I know video is a big part of that. Talk to me from your perspective. Why is video important in your building that brand? And do you leverage AI to help with that? And the reason I'm asking is I've seen some of your videos and they're you. And a lot of people, when they think AI and video, they think, oh, fake video, AI
Yeah.
generated videos, that type of stuff. I'd love to know. And I don't know the answer, by the way. I'm asking Celeste, and I don't know where she's going to go. But do you use AI to help with the videos that you do? And why do you think video is so important? So I guess two questions.
Okay. So why is it important? They need to see your face. And there's so much that is absolutely conveyed. Like, you can just a smile. People are looking at their phones more than they are looking up anymore. And
Yes,
to
that's
like
true.
be that person that is like speaking into their life, that positivity, things like that. That's a huge part of my brand, my personal brand. And yes, I do utilize AI. It has definitely evolved from the first of the year. So I started going
Hmm.
live January 8th, in October now. So it's been a while. It's evolved. But I have a whole podcast mega prompt that I do every single morning, that I just put my vision or thought in, and it spits out this whole like podcast thing for me. And
I
so
love
I
it.
take my lives every morning and I put them on a podcast. I don't There's no editing. It's just a like it's a live stream podcast, and it goes. And I have 152 episodes since the first of the year, which is
Wow.
amazing.
That is.
Amazing. I know it's quite a feat. I didn't know it, but it is. I take that transcript and I break it up into reels and scripts. And so, yes, it is AI helping, but it is in my voice. It's from my transcript. It's from my own thoughts, my own personal stories. And I have like a 5-point thing for my reels. So if you ever see one of my Get Ready With Me reels, I am reading a teleprompter, but it is repurposed from my own transcript from a live. And I will tell you, yes, I do have podcast notes that I print out every single morning. Do I reference them very much? No, I don't.
Sure.
I really don't.
Well, and that's
But
okay.
yeah,
You're
my
you're
reels.
welcome to have them. So Celeste, talk to me a little bit about ideas. I think one of the big things about personal branding personally is trying to figure out how to talk about things that are relevant to my audience, that are related to me, of things that I'm interested in. What are some ways that you encourage your clients, or that you personally are leveraging AI to help ideate and come up with ways to provide helpful content to your audience?
As far as the value goes, I don't share a lot about my business, which I'm starting to get
Hmm.
back. Like I'm trying to, go over to that. But for value's sake, or for bringing, well, that's really what we want to do, right? We want to bring value to our
Absolutely.
followers. And it's not always about business. It's not always about faith either. There has to be a really good balance of these things. And I think too, we talked, oh gosh, social media has changed so much, but 2020, 2021, your five pillars and what day are you on and all these things. And for me to bring value, or to my ideal follower, would be that is it something that they can take and apply in their life? Does it talk to
Hmm.
one of their pain points? And are you bringing a solution to that pain point? Because you can talk to the pain point all day, every day. And that brings no positivity whatsoever. People are not going to come back for that. They don't want to feel bad about themselves, right?
Hmm.
They do want
So
they
true.
want some actionable stuff. And so that's what I do a lot of the time. And I utilize video probably more than anything. I will take my transcripts. We were talking about that. I'll take my transcripts. I'll grab, 5 to 10 powerful quotes out of there. I'll put them on quote cards. If I remember to schedule them, I will schedule them. I am working on this. Okay. We are like in the thick of AI automation and stuff like that. And there's just not enough time during the day to apply all of this. But I am working on automation and stuff like that. But there's quotes and stuff that are really great too. That brings value. For me, it was definitely the reels. So, I break it down. I give them a personal story. I do a hook, I do a personal story, I do a call to action. And within that personal story, instead of focusing on the before and the after for me, I try to bring actionable steps for them. And the only way I know how to do that now, there was no way. We've talked about the executive function disorder.
Oh
There was
yeah.
no way that I could absolutely do that without a teleprompter. I would never
Mm.
remember what I was gonna say. And and AI, because I can't, and it's actually the neural pathways. AI is actually helping my brain heal itself, but I
Very
couldn't have
interesting.
done it before and had that connection.
Makes perfect sense. Well, I'd love to get some advice from you. You know that, we talk about, this is the 91 day podcast. We talk about how AI can get involved in business. And for those that are sitting on the sidelines right now, that are listening, or maybe have dabbled a little bit with AI, as they try to take a look and say, okay, what should I be doing with AI? How should I be doing it? I think one of the problems that so many people do is they try to do too much too fast. And I'd
Yes.
love to get your perspective on, as a business owner, an entrepreneur, or just an individual that wants to build their personal brand, what types of things should they be looking at using AI to do in the next 3 months or the next 91 days to really transform what they're doing and bring AI in as an everyday tool that they're using? Any
Oh,
thoughts on that?
absolutely. Yeah, yes, I do have thoughts on that. Definitely have it interview you, right?
Mm-hmm.
I definitely believe in that. So have it interview you and then prompt it. That was my biggest. So back in May, I interviewed 50 women in May. I was exhausted by June, I promise.
I bet
But
you
I
were.
I was exhausted. But in May, as I was trying to really understand what my ideal client needed, I had 50 interviews. And with those 50 interviews, the biggest struggle was getting started. It was retaining somewhat of the information of who's my ideal client. Because you get in any business, who are you talking to? What are you talking about? What are you trying to sell? What
Right.
is the point here, right? And a lot of people are like, they get stuck at that very beginning because they think they have to have it perfect. It has to be set in stone. The thing I've learned, and I'm sure you have too, Jonathan, that as you keep working, that evolves. And that is the beautiful thing about AI. You can go
Mm.
in, you can change it, and it will help you. But definitely get the interview going. So interview yourself about your product, your service, your business, your brand, whatever it is, what you want to talk about, and then start prompting it and just talk to it. I think a lot of people think they have to have all these mega prompts like I use, but you don't. You can absolutely just have a conversation, pick out the brand voice, the brand tone. What is the vision statement? What is the mission statement? All these things, right? And the end goal, you can give it the end goal, just like Jonathan said, and break it down. But I feel like within 3 months, you should have at least those documents with the brand tone, the brand voice. What are your core values, mission, vision, like the branding analysis kind of thing that everybody asks. And then what is your goal here? And have somewhat of a step by step. And then get with somebody that is already actually learning AI and apply what they've
Mm,
learned so that
mm.
that accelerates your learning. You don't have to learn all of it to apply it. And I think people that's the thing too about these personal brands stepping up and saying like, "Hey, I'll help you. I have this AI thing." These personal brands, because nobody, people have been stiffed with,
Oh yeah.
really bad things. And so when they like come into your space and you have integrity and the knowledge and the know-how and you're pioneering the way, yeah, find somebody for that. But I would start with the interview and I would start gathering what AI tells you and putting it in Google Docs, because then you can go in and actually train a GPT or a Claude project, or you know with your stuff.
Well, I love the idea of the interview, and having AI interview, I think, makes so much sense. I also love how you recommend that people store that information in a Google Doc or a Word doc or something that's easy to reference. And I want to encourage you, if you're listening and you hear us talking about training AI and you go, oh my gosh, I don't understand AI, let alone training it. All that is taking this information and uploading it so that it has access to that. You can do that in an individual chat, or you can create, as Celeste was talking about, custom GPTs. That's a whole nother topic, but where
Yes.
it remembers that training data for you. It's not hard. It should not be something that intimidates you. And don't let the naysayers or the people that talk all theoretical about AI thwart you from embracing it, because it is truly an amazing tool that can help amplify your life. So, Celeste, I want to thank you for joining us. It has been an absolute pleasure. We've just gotten to meet each other. I'm looking forward to hopefully having a chance to do so in person someday, and just so excited to add you to my network of AI people. Thank you so very much. I'm just thrilled, and thank you for your time. If you've
Thank
been
you.
with us, guys, if you've been with us, guys, I want to thank you so much for sticking with us. Having an amazing day, and we would love your feedback, especially with our new pivot. You guys have heard we're pivoting from the 91 Day Success podcast. Celeste, by the way, you kicked my butt. 150 some episodes. I've got 85 in, but that's all right. That's all right. We're not worried about that. We're pivoting to the 91 Day AI Transformation podcast as we focus more and more on AI and how it can transform your life, your business, and everything else. So with that, if you like what we're doing, you like the changes, give us a like, give us a 5-star review. That would mean the world to us. And don't forget to subscribe so you find our next episode when it comes out. Thanks, everybody, and make it a great day. Bye-bye.